Games, board games. I might be talking about a whole bunch of play testing, but I'm not gonna shout. Yesterday I played 10 games, although one of them doesn't have a name. In fact, I'm fairly sure that some bunch of them don't have a name really because they are prototypes and they are still in a state that's early. Board games and playing, it's what I'm talking about. Board games, and I'm not gonna shout. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. Sorry, I will turn on the light so you can sort of see me a little bit. Yep, that helps a tiny bit. It is 10 a.m. UK time for Busy Beats and Board Game Blether. And yes, I'm just going to be talking about what I got up to yesterday. Playing, 10 games. Honestly, like most of them I really enjoyed. Some of them I'm going to get rid of. So yeah, I played GoTown from Helvetic, which is, yeah, it's like a bit of thoughtfulness. It's a bit of take that. I'm going to steal your thing from you. A bit of put down the dogs. No, you can't steal from me. Aha! I put down the bow and I lure you away from anyway. And I'm going to steal your floors. Cammy, which I thought was going to be terrible. I mean, I thought that there must be something that I'm missing here, and I read the rules, and indeed, in one round, there isn't that much to it. Like, it is highly luck dependent, but like a lot of trick taking games, it's about making sure that when you've got a good hand, when you're in a good position, you are able to capitalize on that. I mean, at least once, I could have gotten the 4 points, but I was greedy. I went for the 8, and then I lost. And there, as time went on, I realized that because you know how many of each type of card there is, because you've got an idea of, what people are going to finish on, there's definitely a bit of thoughtfulness to this game. This is super lovely, and this is actually my favourites of the published games that I played. So well done, Okaluda, and thank you for the game. I'm going to say Abracada what? It's not my kind of game, and yeah, as I'm getting rid of basically all my games before I go to Thailand. This is going to be an easy yes. I'm definitely getting rid of this. It's a slightly bigger box. I mean, sure, it's Ticket to Ride, original style, but for me, anything that's bigger than this, I'll almost certainly get rid of because, when you're emigrating for several thousand miles, you can't keep all your stuff. This was really interesting. It has the Hanabi mechanism of you cannot see your own, you can only see what everyone else has got. But in here, it's about that deduction. It's about working out, okay, I can see a whole bunch of this tile. Therefore, I probably don't have that. Conversely, I cannot see the number 1, but there's only one number 1. Does that mean that I have it? Or does it mean that it's one of the few tiles that no one can see right now? And there's a really interesting game in there. Like a lot of Gary Kim's games. What else do I have? I've got something else. Koryu. Like that game, there's a fair bit of luck and excitement, but there's also a real sense of, as you play it over and over, I could see you kind of learning, but then if I do that, then that means that. And because of the maths, actually doing this is sometimes slightly better. I can really see a, potential for extra strategy going on here. But for me, wasn't quite working. I also played other people's games. I also played Rolling America, lovely Rolling Right, and I played Coup by Ricky Tata, friend of the show. And I'm biased about a lot of these. I'll get into that in a moment. But first of all, let's talk about the highlights that have nothing to do with playing games. What are some of the things that you got up to? Please let me know. Whether you're watching live or afterwards, just let me know what were some of your recent highlights. What were some of your achievements? Let me talk about some achievements because it's good to try and think of things. So recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. Hello, Josie. Friday, as I always say, is my favorite day of the week. I get to go playtesting. And what did you get up to recently? My achievements, I guess I facilitated a good playtest of my own bag building game. There's a whole bunch of tiles like this. This one needs a little bit more construction than most of my other games because it's not just cards. It's very much about pulling things out of a bag. And I facilitated a good test. I'm happy that my achievements is that I was able to think of a mechanism for the enemies to work and for the experience points. And I listened to people, I gathered the information, and sometimes yes, sure, I do that pretty much every Friday, but it's still worth celebrating that instead of saying, oh, this is the bare minimum. No, it's not. The bare minimum would be, frankly, to do absolutely nothing, stay in bed all day or shit myself. Hello, CD, who says, I've just come from my first Christmas party from work. I love it when I have a great hair day for something like that. But I'm happy that you've had a good day, and I hope I hope that it wasn't just a great hair day, but you had lots of fun with lovely people. That sounds absolutely fabulous. I will say that as a small highlight, I did try this isn't really a highlight, but I tried a new bubble tea place. Not had a bubble tea for a while. Not gonna lie, I was slightly disappointed. I don't know why I mentioned that. That was an event. It's a thing that I did. I cycled home. I had a date that was going to happen, but then I respected myself. I didn't say bleep you or anything, but I was like, no, I'm not going to reschedule a date if you cancel on me with no good reason. You can't just tell me, hey, can we reschedule this? This is not okay. And have more respect for me. If you knew you were going to have to wake up early on Saturday, I've told you that I'm working until 7 o'clock. So, yeah. Anyway, but having a bit of respect for myself, that's an achievement. Highlight. I'm going to say the other achievements are I made a tasty thing that was relatively healthy. I'm not saying it was totally healthy. I did have a bit of a brownie, but it had a lot of leaves and a bit of anchovies mixed together. It was good. What else? Yeah, and I gave good feedback to other people. That was my achievements. Anyway, back to the Christmas party. CD says, yes, it was great to meet some lovely new people too. Hope you're having a good morning. Yes, and thank you for being here. It's always lovely, even if it's totally virtual, to be around lovely people like yourself. Now, let's crack on and talk about brilliant thing, brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? My brilliant thing is going to be company, being with other people. Honestly, I would happily, it depends on the person, but I would happily be with people basically all the time. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely something to be said for having your own bed. And, when you're in the bathroom, being with other people, that takes a certain amount of intimacy and, it could get weird. But I think that for me, just being around people and like this morning goes, oh, that was a lovely day. Oh, but I'm kind of on my own. And so whether it's virtual, like I start talking and then other people from around the world, from, elsewhere in England or up in New Zealand, saying hello or wherever else you may be. That's something delightful. But I think the thing that's brilliant, and I'm going to get this into what I'm up to today, is just being around other people, being outside, being in the company of other people who have some reason to talk to you, or you're there for a shared vision. Like today, I mean, yesterday playtesting together, and then after playtesting playing together and hanging out and having the idea of, okay, we're going to do this. And then, the other thing that I find brilliant is plans, like people that you can rely on. It's like, yes, this will definitely be happening. Not like those, yeah, I'm going to say it, not like those jerks who kind of, yeah, let you down when you're meant to have a date, like in the evening, but like those going to an event saying, hey, there's a video game thing today, and I'm not super into video games, but it'll be interesting. It's kind of tangential to my interests, and I'm not the biggest fan of Doom, but sure, I'll go and watch, people who made Doom or other, first person shooters or war video games, talking about them for a few hours and being around other people. I'm excited about that. So yeah, that's what I'm about to get up to. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. People, company is brilliant. And yeah, as always, feel free to comment, ask questions, like, follow. Um, hello, Xate. It is lovely to see you. Yeah, how should I do this? I will share some photos from Twitter. My first game that I want to talk about has no name. It's something from me, and yeah, this is something that I am hoping to get to a state where I can actually pitch it at Nuremberg very early next year. It's a real, it's a, I'm trying to think of what's hard. It's a bag building programming game where the programming influences a bit in the middle, where you're hitting each other and slapping each other, and there's real-time elements. So when you're pulling from your bag, there's a sort of real-time dexterity element. You pull stuff, and then you need to check both sides of the tile, because sometimes it'll be blank on both sides. Sometimes it'll be have a picture on, both sides. Sometimes one of the it'll have a picture on one side, which is the more common thing. And just having that thing of keeping everything in your mind at once and then trying to be speedy. And so honestly, if you struggle with fine motor manipulation, it's not a game for you. The real-time dexterity bit is a big part of the game. Now, here you can see John Brieger's end state, where they went with a very small build. It was about moving and then hitting a lot, just using a couple of bits of magic to hit. And then Rob Beer has like, okay, the top tile gives you lots of magic, and then you're spending some of that magic, well, all of that magic, to make all the monsters move, and then attack, and then all these other monsters, like, they will do your damage for you, so you don't have to worry too much. And then the attack is, well, just a plain attack, and you do get these smaller blank tiles if you're dealing damage. I'm still not sure if you should have like bigger blank tiles for more damage, but yeah, that's I'm still working out the core mechanisms. This was Paul's bag, and Paul had a lot of tiles, and also Paul got a lot of damage, which is why there's all those small tiles on the right, and didn't do very well. So the scores were 17, 15, and 5. It's just about smacking other people, dealing lots of damage, and sure, you can spend lots of time hitting all the creatures. The creatures are currently represented by yellow cubes. So when you hit the creatures, you collect them as experience points, and then you can use the experience points to buy new things at the market, and buying new things at the market gives you extra magic, or you can get extra magic using other means. But yeah, you need to get rid of your early tiles, like that one that just deals one stab. I mean, that's the kind of thing that's worth getting rid of, or indeed the single foot movement. There's a yeah, there is a good amount of things to think about, and I feel like now the game structure is basically working. I'm happy with the experience point system, giving you new stuff for your bag. I'm happy with, the way that people refresh and get rid of damage. I think there might need to be something to make sure that someone doesn't just get picked on all the time. But yeah, I think it's time for me to start really focusing on what the tiles are, what the effects are, and I'll make a whole bunch of changes for next time. Really excited by this. Then we played a whole bunch of games from Ellie Dix. Ellie Dix is amazing. Like, honestly, right now, Ellie brought like three totally new games. All of them brilliant. All of them things that I'm like, yeah, I would absolutely love to play again. First was this sort of social deduction game, and it's sort of real time. But when I say it's real time, it's not really it's not a speed game. It's kind of like, I don't know, volleyball, where like things are happening, and you're looking around and you're having this real time discussion. But is it really more real time than One Night Ultimate Werewolf? I'm not sure. But anyway, the point is, you've got your leader who's trying to get everyone else to follow. You've got your followers who are trying to follow the leader for points. And you've got the detective who's trying to find the leader. And then the leader is trying to maneuver the blocks and stuff into different shapes. And this is such a fantastic concept that even though the scoring was kind of off, even though there's still a lot of development to be done, like these were, again, three totally new ideas, and all of them really sparked joy in my heart. The other one, which isn't pictured, sadly, was a game about sort of real-time puzzles, where you can flip over cards that give you facts, and after a while, okay, I know what's going on. Maybe at some point something becomes impossible, and then you say, impossible! And the game was changed a lot, I think, from the start to the end of that session. I suggested a lot of changes where I was like, yeah, let's try this, and then it's not so much about the impossible because taking away the opposites. And yeah, I think that there's something really, really nice where it's just like, okay, who's the biggest? I know it. Or who's the smallest? Okay, I know it because of all this network of relationships. Or at some point it's impossible. Okay, slam my hand. And you're looking for these three things. And that's a really nice game. That's honestly, if it existed right now, I could see myself happily playing. That's a game that I might consider keeping. And that's saying a lot since I'm getting rid of most of my games. Finally, from LA Dix, we had this beautiful thing which was inspired by Monet's Water Lilies. Obviously, the arts will be totally different in a while, and yes, the red and purple are too similar, and for some reason the backgrounds are green and blue. But, these are printer problems. These are prototype problems. It doesn't really matter too much. And yeah, ideally, they would have been double-coded straight at the start. But there's a lovely game here, and the circular tiles, so you are placing all of these things, and there's an organic nature to how all of these come together, and it was a delightful game. I mean, I'm biased because I won, but still, I did really enjoy it felt strategic. It felt like, sure, get rid of a bit of the start, get rid of a bit of the end, but there's something here. And for a first game, this was just flipping amazing. CD, have a wonderful sleep, and I hope you rest well. Oh yes, so there were a whole bunch of us, and finally we played Paul's game. So if you've not been to Friday Daytime Playtest, the way it normally goes, and I encourage everyone to come along to Friday Daytime Playtest. We meet at 10, and then we sort of chat. I try to be there at 10 or earlier every day, and every day I'm basically never there before 10:30 is the truth. But we get there, and David Brain and Ellie Dix are usually there at 10, and we have a bit of a chat, we talk to each other, we welcome the newcomers, and then we catch up with the people that we know. And 11 o'clock sharp, we start playing games. A couple of people will pitch games. So be like, hey, this is my game. Oh, this is my game. And then people will decide what they want to play. And then afterwards, that will run an hour and a half, and we have half an hour of break time, although that break time is commonly overspill time. So we do always say, yeah, if you need a break, please do stop. But sometimes people get into it enough that you're like, yeah, okay, if it's just 10 minutes, we'll run over a wee bit, but then have some time to use the loo, to walk around if you need a break, to recharge your mind, to go and get food, whatever you need. And then 1 o'clock until 2:30 again, play a game with break time, and then 3 o'clock until 4:30 play a game. And Paul Mansfield is always at these events, like very rarely bringing their own stuff. And Paul is so insightful and really good at playing games that probably aren't for them. I mean, frankly, Paul doesn't like real-time games, which is probably why they did quite badly at my game, because they're not someone who thinks super quickly. And I think that this was the first time that Paul had brought a game for a long, long time. Paul brought a game that's kind of like Codenames, kind of like So Clover. It's a word association game. There's things, and you associate them, and there's people, and you get points, and you want to work out what's going on. But it's not a team game. It's a bit more of an everyone play game. And if someone messes up, hey, it doesn't matter. It's not going to ruin the whole game. It's more of a small atomic game, in the same way that So Clover, you could play just one of these things, but you do it one at a time, and if someone jumps in or leaves, then it's fine. And there's not a big arc like Codenames, but that has its own sense of delight, that, hey, I can watch around and understand what's going on. Okay, now I can jump in. And it feels slightly more accessible, but also you have your own autonomy. It was definitely a really nice addition to the landscape of what's going on. And yeah, we discussed some potential rules for a much simpler version for like 4-year-olds that I might explore. Anyway, at the end, we played some actual published games. Now, firstly, as I said, it's Abracada What? This started, I think, about a month ago when I said, hey, would people be up for playing some published games afterwards? Because I don't want to say, hey, let's carry on playtesting until whenever. I mean, playtesting, it does require extra brain power. You need to, as the designer, be running a good test. As the playtester, you need to be on point. You are kind of beholden to vocalize your feedback, to tell the designer what you think. Whereas here, like, we still said, hey, how do people feel about it? Like, and so, yeah, curious to see how the game did and compare that to the usual ratings that I ask for. And yeah, we did kind of have a slight bit of a chat, but there's obviously a different energy that comes with playing a published game. Sometimes that worked really well. Anyway, so at the end, and honestly, this is a lot to do with me trying to play through all my stuff and say farewell to it. So the first game that I'm saying farewell to is Abracada What? You have these lovely tiles. Tiles that there's triangular distribution. So you've got 3 3s, 1 1, 5 5s, up to 8 8s. And each of these different tiles does a different thing. So you'll have your handy dandy player reference sheet, which tells you, oh, the number 1 is the dragon, and that damages everyone for D3 points. So you've got a 6-sided die, which has 1 2 3 1 2 3 on it. And then number 2, it drains everyone for 1 point. Sweet Dreams, oh, you get the free life back. Night Singer, oh, this can get actual, not just life points, because you keep playing different rounds but victory points. This can give you information. Lightning Tempest damages the 2 people to either side. Blizzard and Fireball damage one of the people on your side. And Magic Drink, the number 8, gives you a life point. And having to think about, okay, not just what's likely for me to have, but also what would be useful in this current situation. What would be looking around, scanning the table, thinking, okay, how many of this are there? Am I likely to have it? How many of that are there? Am I likely to have it? Listening to what people are saying. Hey, no one's picking that thing, even though there's a lot of it. Does that mean that I have it? Is that the reason? Because you don't just pick one thing on your turn. No. You start off picking any number, and then if you've got it, then you activate that spell, it has its effect, and then you can keep going and pick an equal or higher number. So I could go, well, I really need to damage the person to my right 3 times, and then they die, and I would win 3 victory points, because if you kill someone, you get 3 victory points, and then, the round restarts. So I might say, okay, number 7, lightning bolt. Yeah, number 7, lightning bolt. Yeah, number 7, lightning bolt, and do it all in one turn, and that's awesome. And then you've got the central board here, which is just a way to track, okay, there's this many of the things out of the game to make the arithmetic slightly easier. I really enjoyed this. This is not a review there. I think that, yes, it is a very interesting game. I think that someone will get so much delight out of this. And yeah, if you want it, Josie, then let me know. The reason I'm getting rid of it is firstly because it's a bigger box than I'm, willing to keep after I emigrate. And the second reason is because, okay, I'll tell you the things I hate about this game. On your turn, you have to do like this tiny bit of arithmetic, and it feels like I would prefer the game if I had a little bit of paper and a pen to just keep track of, okay, there's that many of this outside, okay, so there's that many left of this, because as it is, there's so many numbers to keep in my head. There's like 8 numbers. I know that's not a ridiculous amount, but 8 numbers is more than I can remember constantly. And then also you've got to keep track of, if you really want to get into the what did they say, what did they ask for, let me use that information. I think it would be a better game with a little bit of pen and paper. The other downside is it would be better on a circular or even a square table. We were playing it on an extremely long table, so 2 of the people were on the 2 sides, and I sat on the end. But even so, there was a little bit of difficulty of making sure that you can see everyone else's, but you can't see your own. That was slightly challenging. But I really enjoyed this. I would happily play it again. And there's something fascinating about this sense of, okay, what do I do? And there's definitely excitement. Do I have this number? Oh my gosh, I can see what they've got. They've got the number 1. If they play that, then I will die. And having that moment of tension. There are dramatic moments. There is excitement, but there's also a smidgen of strategy and deduction and logic. But yes, like most of my games, I will be like, if someone who's helped me at a bunch of conventions wants it, then you can have it, but otherwise I'll sell it on. So that was Abracada what? This is Rolling America. Oh yeah. This is one of the 2 games that weren't mine that we played. So we played Rolling America. This obviously plays infinite players because it's a totally multiplayer solitaire roll and write. Each turn, you get 2 random colors, 2 random numbers. Pull out the dice from the bag, get the color, and you need to write that number in that color. That's basically it. But the key thing is that you can't have numbers that are too far apart from an adjacent thing. So anything can only be one apart. It looks like a simplified knockoff of On Tour, says Xate. I mean, knockoff is very harsh and not even sure what came first. On Tour, board game, geek, and I'm actually slightly curious now. I mean, mechanically, it plays very differently. Rolling America, board game geek. I mean, I feel like the word knockoff is very unjustified. As it happens, Rolling America is from 2015, On Tour is from 2019. So if anything, On Tour is the knockoff of Rolling America. But I honestly don't think that either is a knockoff of the other one. And I do feel like knockoff is a very, that's like got really harsh connotations. I mean, that feels very I would say, yeah, I actually slightly prefer this, if anything. Like, it feels, so you've got the color changes where you can change the color of stuff. You've got the guards where you draw circles. You can duplicate stuff. And as you can see, I didn't take full advantage of my duplicates. And there was like at least one space, like the orange, where I could have had something. And so there's definitely a nice amount of strategy. There's definitely stuff I would have done differently next time. And like, it feels more approachable. If you make a single mistake, you lose the entire game is a bit too harsh, I think. So I did say, okay, John Brieger technically lost, got 9, but with an additional X, they actually got 10 points. You're trying to aim for lower. Myself as well, I officially lost because I wrote the 4 where my 4 was next to the 2 and I totally messed up. And so, yeah. But crossing that out, if I had drawn an X, then I would have gotten 10 points. Anyway, the winner, I think, got 8 points. And the 5 of us, I think, was like 8, 8, 10, 12, 15, something like that. So it's firmly in the middle. It's a lovely game. We also played Coup, social deduction, bits of player elimination. Ellie's not a fan of social deduction, so obviously it didn't go, it didn't fly as it should have. But yeah, Coup is the type of, and most social deduction games, I think, are the kinds of things where they benefit from not just playing them once, not just trying it out and seeing how it is, but really exploring it repeatedly. Now, yes, Cami. This is an absolutely gorgeous game. So you've got 32. You've got a small number of cards. They are quite big. And you've got some tokens. So these are the tokens in the little box. Also, it's a nice color. I mean, it's red, so that's good. And yeah, when I read the rules of this, I was thinking, wow, that sounds really luck-based. You've got cards on the corner. It says how many there are. So like 10 of the soldiers. This is worth 1 point if you play it as your last card. And towers, there's 2 of. And yeah, all the cards tell you how it is. And the Empress is clearly the best. But there's only 2 of the Empress. In this game, someone plays something face down and a card on top of it. A card on top of it is your offense. And if anyone has the identical card, so if someone has a spear, you need to follow with a spear. And then you're like, haha, I counter your spear with my spear. And then once you've done that, then you can launch your own offense, which might be a silver dragon. And then someone can say, haha, I have my own silver dragon. But if no one has a silver dragon, it comes back to you. And then you play an upside down card, and then maybe you have two empresses, and you're like, this is an amazing hand because no one's able to counter the Empress because I have both of them. Then you play the Empress, no one can counter it. Then you play your other Empress face down, and then you play the gold dragon on top to win the game. Well, that would just be one round. So it's 8 cards per person. Yeah, it is 32 cards. So with 4 players, you use all the cards. 3 players use leave 8 cards out. And whatever the final card that you play is the number of points you get. So I didn't really understand the strategy until I'd played around, and then it was like, interesting. There's sorts of tension between wanting to use your things, your rarer things, to play on top. Like, clearly this is less likely to be countered than the horse, because, the horse, there's 3 other horses, and the Empress, there's only 1 other. There's also a small wrinkle, because the Empress is the super powerful card. The Empress can counter anything except for the spear or the soldier. But yeah, basically the Empress can counter anything except for the spear or the soldier. So if you play, so actually what that means is that it's the Empress and maybe the spear that become the things that are the least likely to be countered. But then you look at your hand, you think, what have other people already played? What are other people likely to play? And just like a regular trick-taking game, you do definitely have some stronger hands and some weaker hands. You might be in a situation where you absolutely should win. You might be in a situation where you absolutely should lose. But it's making sure that when you absolutely should lose, you do things to eke out even the tiniest possibility of you winning that round. And when you should win, then make sure that you actually do win and you don't play badly and misplay and do something wrong. And within that, there's a whole scale of margin where you have to think, okay, what's actually likely for them to have? And if I've got an Empress, when do I play my Empress? That's a really interesting decision point. And the basic structure, which, similar to trick-taking games, the fact that you need to follow here, like the fact that you can generally, if you've got anything other than the Empress, like the soldier or the horse, or let's find a gold dragon, I guess. That looks like a gold dragon. Anything that isn't the Empress, you can only use it as a counter for that specific thing. So when are you going to use it? And also, what are you going to use as your face down cards if you get the opportunity? What do you chuck out of your hand? What is least valuable? The restrictive nature of the gameplay that I thought was going to result in a really dull game actually leads to really interesting decisions. And yes, there is a bit of card counting. This is the one out of the games that 3 games that I got to play where I'm thinking, this one I'm going to keep for, a while longer. I'm not ready to give it up just yet. I mean, it's been in my possession for so long. I mean, since literally Can 2020. And you play multiple rounds. You play until someone gets to 15, and there's 3 ways to play. Either level 1, where, okay, just get to 15 or more. Level 2, if you get to 15, but you get to more, then you go down. And level 3 means you have to get to exactly 15, and if you overshoot, you go back down to 0. And that's really interesting, because that means that other people now have a little bit more information about what you might do. And I think that level 1 or 2, or we played level 2, I wouldn't play level 3 until I'd played it a few more times. But I'm really keen now to play it 2-player, to play it 4-player. I mean, I'm biased because I won, but I probably won't take this to Thailand because it is a little bit gamery. I mean, it feels like the kind of thing where you it's not something to teach to non-gamers. But am I going to get a chance to play it? What kind of people will I meet there? Well, but like this is a game that I really enjoyed and I want to play more. And yeah. Finally, I guess I'm going to talk about GoTown by Helvetic, which as they're kind of known for, small box games in the same size as Bandido or indeed Bandida, Helvetic. There's a whole bunch of cards, and some have numbers on them. For example, this one has a 2, and let me find the 7. If you put the 2 numbers that add up to 9 together, then they form a little scene. So they're the same color, and this makes a floor. If you build 5 floors, then you win. It depends whether you want a shorts game or a normal game. Like shorts game is 4 floors. So you're drawing hands, you've got a bunch of cards in your hand, and you're placing down stuff. So now the interesting thing is that you can steal cards. So if someone else has a 7 on their top floor, you can steal it with a 2. If someone else has a 5 on their top floor, you can steal it with a 4. So you're basically replacing their thing with your thing if you've got one of them. And you can stop people stealing your stuff with a little dog, but then you can get in the way by luring the dog away with a bone. Let me get all of these cards the right way around. Here's a little bone. So you can use a little bone to lure away the dog and then maybe smash in that floor using the drill, or even totally go to town with a wrecking ball. And then once you've done that, then steal their floor underneath. It's very much got strong elements of Take That, but it's not super wacky, which is an interesting thing. It's kind of like a thoughtful, I'm going to do that. Now, playing out your hand means that you get bonus cards, because if you go below 3 cards, then you get extra cards. Otherwise, it's just 1 card at the start of the turn. And you definitely could have worse hands or better hands. It feels like a game that's probably going to end up with a good amount of luck. How good was the cards in my hand? Was I able to steal from you? At the end, Paul managed to win because they had cards that perfectly suited the top few floors of our thing. So it was destroy that. Now I steal that, I steal that, I steal that, and I steal that. Hooray! And just happen to have the correct cards. Now, I don't want to undermine the amount of tactical thinking that there is in this game. I do think that, especially because the atom of the game is short enough, it feels more like luck plays a bigger role in the game than skill. I do enjoy it. I feel some good amount of agency. And with more players at the table, I've played it 2 players before. I played it 3 players last night. With more players, you get to choose who to pick on. You get more floors going on. I mean, I do think that maybe with 2 players, it might be more interesting if you were actually building 2 towers at once as a house rule. But yeah, having that choice of who you block is really interesting, and who you destroy and you get in the way of. And then there's all this, well, I've got all these 1s and 6s and I can't do anything because no one else has any 6s or 3s for me to be able to steal their 3, and I can't play out my hand. And it feels like it's possible for you to literally be stuck with nothing, which was very close to happening, and it probably won't happen, but it feels like I could imagine that, just being totally stuck. And for sure, there's decisions, as I say, especially with 3 or 4 players you pick on, but yeah, I feel like this is probably a game that would be really nice for a slightly lighter audience than me. I really need a really high degree of agency. I really want to be in control of my destiny. And if I'm not, I want the game to be super short. like 5 minutes or less. And as a 20-minute game, sure, if you're up for like a 20-minute filler game, if that's what you're looking for, I would say go for it, and I think you will have fun with it. If you're looking for a game with a little bit of strategy and a little bit of thought and a good amount of luck, and take that, then check out GoTown. But if that's not your bag, then yeah, it's not your bag. And there's nothing wrong with that. But yes, that is my day. It was an absolutely lovely day. Shout out to John Brieger, who's come over from America, and yeah, we'll get in touch to say if we're meeting tomorrow. I mean, as opposed to that other person who just said, yeah, we're meeting. Yeah, we're meeting, right? Yes, we're meeting. I said we would. So going to be there, and I'm going to be at we're meeting, right? Yes, we are. And then an hour later, hey, sorry, I can't meet. It's like, what the bleep? Anyway, John Brieger, amazing person, lovely person. Ignore that jerk. Not John Brieger isn't the jerk. The other person is the jerk. John Brieger is lovely. Knew them from like 2016. Came home, had a lovely dinner. I just want to show off these anchovies, and this is the caviar that you can buy for £3 from Lidl. I mean, is it caviar? Like, I know that technically you have to have a specific fish for it to be caviar, so it's just fish roe. I mean, but it was a nice salad. It was peanuts and leaves and stuff. And so it was a lovely night, and that's me. So let me wrap up with a question of the day. Question of the day. Here's a little question before we go on our way. My question of the day to you all is, out of the games that I've talked about, which, if any of them, would you be most interested to play? Which of them are you, oh, that sounds exciting? Let me know. I am very curious. For me, I mean, the things that I would like to play again, I mean, of the published games, definitely Kami. Of the prototypes, like, I am biased about my own one. I'm biased about the bag building thing, but of Ellie's game, I really liked the social deduction dexterity game. Yeah, I think I'm going to pick that. Yeah, with the speed logic game as a close second. Like, the speed logic game, I feel it is a very solo thing. There's not a lot of interaction, but like lots of speed games, it's like, yeah, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep getting better at it until I feel like I've mastered this. And it feels almost reminiscent of Set in a lot of ways. That's it, because the difficulty level is in that range. It's not super simple like Double or Jungle Speed or a game about quickly matching words to pictures, but never words to words or pictures to pictures. It's a little bit harder than a game about counting cats, shapes, and colors that keeps getting trickier, and it's a lot simpler than, Space Alert. So yeah, again, it's in a similar complexity and like thinking wise to Set, and you need to jump through a few hoops, and you need to do it at speed, and this is something that you will get better at and better at. And I think that it is something where I would really like, as I say, I'd really like to keep playing it and master it. Now over to you. What are you up to? You can share botany if you want to. And Xate says probably Rolling America would be the one that Xate would be most excited to try. Let me get the picture of that one up. Yeah, as well as Rolling America, I think there's also one called Rolling Japan. And yeah, it's a lovely game. The full game needs 7 dice. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, don't know if it's at your local ludothek or anything, but don't know if the ludothek has some way that you can get stuff in. But yeah, this feels like the type of game that also a lot of people could get into. Anyway, what are we up to? I am going to get showered, get dressed, send an application off to run some LARPs next year. And then I'm going to go to a video game conference where in the Imperial War Museum in London, people are talking about video games, which I'm looking forward to. So we've got some exciting speakers. I mean, tickets normally cost like £20 or £40, but someone, because they owed me a favour, which I'd completely forgotten about, and yeah, I didn't think they owed me a favour, but like, yeah, I'm quite happy to accept tickets. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I'm on the guest list for that. And I'm excited to go and listen to some accomplished video game designers talking about their craft. And hopefully that will lead to inspiration. Is there anything you want to share? Something that you're looking forward to? Something that you need to do? I promise that I care. What are you up to? As always, let me recap and wrap up before we finish up. So to recap and wrap up, my own game, the thing with lots of little tiles that you're drawing out of bags is going well. I'm really excited by it. And yeah, some people are loving it. Some people are not so loving it, but it's a strategic speed game, or it's a strategic game with speed and a little bit of, when I say dexterity, I mean flipping the things over. So it's more, if you struggle with your hands, this is not a game for you. If you don't like thinking at speed, this is not a game for you. If you don't like the chaos of Robo Rally ramped up, this is not a game for you. If you don't like having to, quickly think, this is not a game for you. But conversely, if you do like those things, this is the game for you. And that's going well. Ellie Dix made some amazing games. Paul Mansfield's games was fascinating. I might do a childish version of that. Enjoyed. I'm going to summarize these in one word. Interesting. Brilliant. Lucky. Satisfying. And Coup, I'm going to say I don't have a good word, but I'm thinking of that noise. Like, yeah. Lying, I guess, but you knew that. That's not even a rating or anything. But yes, that is my recap and wrap up. Also, the company of other people is brilliant, and I'm going to head out to the Imperial War Museum today. I've never been there. I'm looking forward to it. Stuff by Bez in all of the places, stuffbybez.com/streams. Tomorrow I'm talking to Michael Bortley about doing demos with people. It should be a good chat. And feel free to share, spread the word. And thank you so much, everyone who's been here. Sates is getting ready to fly to Bucharest on Tuesday to my new best friend forever. Oh, that's lovely. And I hope you have a wonderful time. And give them a hug from me. In the meantime, I'm going to say bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, bye, everyone. Lots of love. Bye, bye.